All right, we are back. Good evening, Northern Colorado. This is Bob, W0BNC. I'm located in Nunn, and I will be net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. The purpose of the TechNet is to enlighten amateur radio operators on topics of a technical nature. We will do our best to answer any technical questions for the benefit of those who are listening. If there's a subject that has never been made clear to you, this is a great opportunity to find the answer. If anyone feels they have information that will help regarding that subject, please give your call sign, and net control will call on you. This net may be interrupted at any time for emergencies or priority traffic. If you need to use the system for an emergency during the net, say break and give your call sign. We will acknowledge you and suspend the net until you advise that you are clear. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? All licensed amateur radio operators with 70-centimeter privileges are encouraged to check into the net. Club membership is encouraged but never required for participation. Check-ins are requested for the purpose of counting participation only, and no checkout is required. This is W0BNC, net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. When checking in, please give your call sign slowly, first alphabetically, then again using the ITU phonetic alphabet, along with your name and location. When checking in, please state if you will have a topic that you would like to discuss tonight. Check-ins will be taken in groups of 3. When I've acknowledged the first group, I'll then move on to the next group of 3. I will start by taking check-ins from call suffixes alpha through Mike. Alpha through Mike, call now.
Whiskey 0, Lima, Echo, India, W0, LEI, Chad, and Stout.
This is November 0, Echo, Mike, Papa, and 0 EMP. Greg in Fort Collins with Debbie, Kilo 0, Delta, Bravo, Echo. K0 DBE.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 0 Golf Quebec India, Doc in Pierce.
Okay, net acknowledges W0 LEI, N0 EMP, along with K0 DBE and KF0 GQI. I will now take the next group of 3.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 0 Golf Quebec Hotel, Kent in Wellington.
Echo X-Ray Victor Brian Greeley.
This is AE0KO, Alpha Echo 0 Kilo Oscar, Brad Mobile and Fort Collins.
I'd like to welcome KF0 GQH, KD0 EXV, and AE0KO. I'll now take the next group of 3, Alpha through Mike.
This is W0KJM, Whiskey 0 Kilo Juliet Mike, Kyle in Fort Collins.
This is Alpha Echo 0, Charlie Foxtrot, AE0CF, Ben, Fort Collins.
Okay, I have W0KJM and AE0CF. Was there another station trying to throw your call out? If so, come again.
I believe that was me. This is K0AZA, Kilo 0 Alpha Zulu Alpha, Ron in Fort Collins.
K0AZA, got you, Ron, thank you. Let's go ahead and open it up to all call suffixes Alpha through Zulu. Alpha through Zulu, check in groups of 3, please.
W2, MIC, Whiskey 2, Mike, India, Charlie, Mark, Loveland. One announcement about this week's ham radio lunch. This is
Kilo Bravo 0, Yankee Delta November, 0 YDN, Eric, Pinewood Lake, no traffic.
This is N0 NYY, November 0, November Yankee, Bart in Evans. I am with N0 QXQ, November 0 Quebec, X-Ray Quebec. Gene, also in Evans. Good evening to the net.
Okay, net acknowledges KB0YDN, and Eric, you were extremely broken. I don't know if you can change your situation or not, just FYI. N0NYY and N0QXQ. I'll now take the next group of 3, please.
Justin, mobile, no traffic.
Okay, hold up there. I had Justin mobile. I need to get your call sign again, and then there was a station that doubled with Justin. So Justin, if you could come back with your call sign first, please.
Sure thing. Kilo Golf 6, Oscar Bravo Charlie, KG60BC.
I copy KG60BC. And was there another station that doubled with Justin?
This is N0BNK, November 0, Bravo, November Kilo, Rick in LaPorte.
N0BNK, thanks Rick. Any other check-ins? Call now.
This is KI0SK, Kilo India 0, Sierra Kilo, Eric in Fort Collins.
This is Whiskey 5, Victor Victor, W5VV, Bill in Livermore.
That acknowledges KI0SK and W5VV. Any more check-ins before we go ahead and get started with the net?
KS0EFA, Kilo Foxtrot 0, Echo Foxtrot Alpha. This is JD in Loveland.
Okay, I have KF0EFA. Thanks for checking in, JB. We'll have another chance to check in if we didn't get you in this round towards the end of the net. I want to go ahead and jump up to Mark, W2MIC. Go ahead with your ham radio lunch announcement, sir.
W2MIC. As many of you know, every second week we get together for ham radio lunch. And yes, this is the week. Wednesday, that's 2 days from today, we are getting together for ham radio lunch at the Perkins Restaurant in Loveland, Colorado. We get together at 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and the Perkins Restaurant location is 2222 West Eisenhower Boulevard, Loveland. That's Highway 34. You are welcome to attend, whether you are a ham or not. I think we have a bunch of newly minted general license ticket holders, and any of those of you who can come, please do. You don't have to be a ham. You don't have to be a member of, the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. You don't have to be a member of the Amateur Radio Emergency Services, but a whole bunch of us are, typically including club officers from both. I refer to it as TechNet with lunch, not to steal any thunder from this TechNet, because with this TechNet, you don't get lunch. But on Wednesday, 11:30 a.m., Perkins Restaurant, Loveland, Colorado, yes, you get lunch, and you get a whole bunch of experience about pretty much any aspect of amateur radio that you might like to practice or learn more about, or maybe even learn if it exists. So, ham or not, whether you've got your license yet or not, general or not, come on down to lunch, Wednesday, 11:30 a.m., Perkins. Thank you. Back to that.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. One of these days I'll be able to sneak out of work and get down there and join you guys. I guess I kind of have a topic, but I'll save mine for last. I just got HF set up in my pickup, so hopefully we'll have a semi-permanent mobile set up. So I kind of want to see if anybody else is running HF mobile and what they are running for antennas and radios and so on. But first, call on anybody else that has checked in. If anybody else has a topic they would like to discuss, go ahead and call now.
W0LEI.
W0LEI. Go ahead, Chad. The floor is yours.
Well, it's more information. I was just listening to W1AW, and they put out a bulletin, and it's been published in QST, but we'll let this drop. But apparently on the East Coast, they're putting out to not get vanity plates or have your call sign on your vehicle, because apparently some ingenious individuals have determined they can get enough information from that call sign and your license plate number to get an APO address and facilitate smuggling. And several people have went in for vanity plates and have been warned that by New York state authorities against doing that. And that's it. So I just want to make people aware of it. LAI back to net.
Well, that's a new twist. I've heard before, obviously if you use your street address on QRZ, that it's really easy to find out where you live, and even the dumbest of criminals can put two and two together and figure there's something of value there. But I use a P.O. box, but it's much easier to find an address of an amateur radio operator based off their call sign than it is just somebody's license plate, even though that's very easy, but it might cost you $5. But appreciate that info, Chad. Good to know.
Yeah, I thought it would be interesting just to be aware of that.
Yep, any opportunity they can get, they'll take advantage of it. Okay, this is W0BNC, Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Weekly TechNet. Anybody have any topics they would like to discuss or any questions they might have for the net? Okay, hearing none, I'd mentioned I wanted to talk about HF Mobile. Some of you might be familiar with a hitch mount that I made for my truck that I can hook up my vertical HF antenna or attach a fiberglass mast to. I built something similar, but instead of running straight out of the hitch, it runs off to the passenger side and then up about 4 feet. And I have it set up to where I can attach two different antennas on it without having to change anything. I have just an SO239 barrel connector for my ATAS 120, and then I also have an SO239 to a 3/8 by 24 stud for 102-inch stainless whip. The ATAS, of course, I can use with my two Yaesu radios. The 102-inch whip I have connected to a ICOM AH4 that uses one of Radio Dan's fantastic little tuner interfaces, which means you can use that ICOM AH4 with any HF radio. Let me let this reset. So while it's not a permanent mount, as long as I don't need to pull my flatbed or my camper trailer, I can leave this bracket in the hitch. It's fastened at the hitch both by a hitch pin plus a 1/4-20 screw or bolt that I have drilled and tapped into the receiver that I can snug it up in the receiver tube. Plus I have a bracket on the outer edge of the bumper, and I've put a reinforcement plate on the back side of the bumper, 1/4-inch piece of flat bar about 3 inches wide. So the outer part of this bracket or the mount bolts to that, so it keeps it nice and firm, and of course that's grounded from that reinforcing strap, one of the bolts there, up to the frame, and I have the frame to the body, and or frame to the box, and the box to the cab, and all those are bonded too with grounding straps. So that's my semi-permanent HF mobile station, and I think I'm going to use the FT857. I'm curious for those that are running HF mobile, whether it's kind of on a part-time or you have a permanent installation, in particular what you're doing for an antenna. I did this because it was really the only place I had that I could think of a good solid mount for the ATAS, considering I have a fiberglass camper shell or a topper on it. So if you're running mobile, I'm curious to hear your setups and maybe give some other people ideas on how they could do HF mobile.
NYY.
NYY. Go ahead, Bart.
It's 0NYY. Howdy, Bob. Good to hear you this evening. I have a 99 Tahoe, which has about a half square acre of steel for a roof. On top of that, I have a Tri-Mag magnetic mount that is 3 5-inch magnets on a T-bar. I believe that's an MFJ. I use ham sticks. I have quick disconnects on the bottom. I have used 10 meters a little bit, 15 meters a little bit, 20 and 40 meters I've used a lot, and 75 meters I have played with a little bit. As you can imagine, bandwidth, especially at 75 meters, is a bit of a nuisance. It's just a nuisance because you have to retune the antenna. If you were using a tuner, as you are, that probably would be far less of an issue. I don't use a tuner with any of my ham sticks. They all, with the exception of the 75 meter, they all get enough of the band that I don't have to worry about tuning it. I just recently acquired 60 meter antennas as well, and I'll be setting those up. I have an ICOM 706 Mark II-G in the truck that has been modified to do 60 meters, but I haven't tried it yet. I expect similar bandwidth issues, but since it's channelized, that will probably not be a really big deal. I also have a whole set of three, I have a set of three Hustler antennas, which have much shorter stingers on the top, but the loading coil is part way up the antenna. All the ham sticks are about 8 feet long. The Hustlers are all going to be about 6 or 7 feet long, but they're center loaded with much fatter diameter coils. I haven't tried the Hustlers yet, but I have all the hardware here, almost all the hardware here ready to do so. I'm still waiting for my 3H24 stainless rod to show up. But I'll report more on that later.
So I know there's not a great deal of wind loading on those ham sticks as compared to the Hustler resonators, but have you had the ham sticks on going down the road? They hold up fine, the magnets hold them on fine?
Yes, I have had them on this vehicle and on another vehicle, and I have had them both in excess of 100 miles an hour as a test to see if the antenna would stay put. And I will say no more about that, but, well, that was many, many years ago, okay? I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, the Tri-Mag has been tested above 100 miles an hour, and I've had no issues with it whatsoever.
Good to know. I've always wondered that, but never had the opportunity to ask somebody that had used a mobile, so thanks. I appreciate that. Anyone else have mobile HF they would like to explain what they're doing?
KI0SK.
KI0SK. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a second voice for the ham sticks. I had a ham sticks and a Tahoe and mag mount, almost identical setup, and had good luck with it on 40 and 20, but also 17. And 17 can be a wonderful band for mobile use. It's not as crowded as 20, and the DX is just as good. The other advantage of the ham sticks is that I have hit trees, because that sticks up a fair amount over the car, and if you hit a tree, it will break the ham stick, but you're only out one ham stick, and they're not that expensive. Anyhow, back to that KI0SK.
This is W0BNC Net Control for the NCARC Club Weekly TechNet. I said club twice, didn't I? Yeah, ham stick at what, about $30? That's a whole lot cheaper than an ATAS, which is kind of unobtainium right now, and if you do, it's what, north of 300. So, okay, cool, good to know. Anyone else? Call now.
MIC.
MIC, go ahead, Mark.
I use an MFJ triple magnetic mount on top of my Chevy Suburban, which has even more metal real estate than Bart's Tahoe. I have run everything from a bare Citizens Band stainless steel whip on top of a Hustler spring, with which I wouldn't want to publicly admit that I've done triple digits with a stiff crosswind. I use an LDG tuner, an AT200 Pro 2, in conjunction with my ICOM 706 Mark II, or its successor, the ICOM IC 7100. And the LDG will happily tune that whip from 6 meters through 40. It has trouble on 40, but works on everything below that in terms of length, wavelength. I have used a variety of different ham sticks by a wide variety of manufacturers, dating from Valor through MFJ, and several that don't have names. I have had up, but am not currently running, my Tar Heel screwdriver. It's the little Tar Heel, on top of the MFJ mag mounts, and that will do 6 through 40 with a short whip, or let me think, 10 through 80 with a longer whip. Again, in this case, with the ICOM IC 7100. I have whacked trees to the point that I used to call the CB whip my under-tree trimmer, and the whip and the Hustler spring simply don't care. I've not yet hit my Tar Heel on a tree, and I plan not to.
That's pretty impressive that the little Tar Heel will hang on with those 3 mag mounts. I know those things are just a little bit bigger than the ATAS, which it catches a fair amount of wind, so that's pretty impressive that the 3 mag mount, or the 3 magnetic Tri-Mag mount, that's what I'm trying to spit out, holds that on. And I'm just impressed, triple digits in a stiff crosswind at 100 plus in a Suburban, period, so kudos.
I have no comment. I have no idea where you heard, could have heard such a thing.
I'd done retired my ticket book, no worries. Thank you, Mark. Anyone else would like to comment? Go ahead and call.
0 Mike Lima Golf.
K0MLG, go ahead, Mark, good evening.
Good evening. Late check-in, and it sounds like we're talking HF stuff. I just want to put this out there that the Colorado Marathon is Sunday, and we're intending to use HF. And if any of you are messing with HF at the moment, you'll know that the bands are a little bit, hold on a minute. We'll be using the 447, 146.65, 147.36 repeaters. Frequencies for HF will probably be announced on those rather regularly. I don't have my notes in front of me. Bob, what did we use for the HF testing we did at my place? Was it 3812? And do you happen to have those frequencies, Andy, to let people know if they want to listen in?
My plan was to use the same frequencies we have on our Aries 217. I'm thinking 80 meters is just going to be a wash. The Aries net yesterday morning was just horrible. I couldn't hear hardly anybody, and net control couldn't hear me at all, and that's a first. So we'll try 80. That frequency would be 3.810, 3.810, and the 40 meter frequency would be 7.225, 7.225. And if there was a chance for us to use 60 meters, it would be channel 1.
Okay, isn't there that net on channel 1 though every day?
That I don't know. I'm not down there that often. If there is, we could move to channel 2, I suppose.
Well, 1, 2, and 3 all have nets on them. I found out some weeks ago. So 4 or 5, I think we should start with 5 because I've never found a net on that one. So anyway, 3810, 7225, and channel 5. By the way, Bob is the HF coordinator for the races now. Vaughn asked him the other day because he's played with HF quite a bit more than me. But anyway, that's a little bit of information. If anybody wants to follow along on HF or on any of the repeaters, we'll be on 147.510, but that's also just mainly in the canyon, just simplex point to points. So there'll be some learning on Saturday. There's going to probably be some frustration, but I just wanted to give that info out. And I got to run because the family's waiting on me to go have dinner. Everybody have a good evening. K0MLG. And if you have any questions, you can get with Bob. He can relay them to me. And everybody have a good night. K0MLG.
All right, thanks for that, Marty. Anyone else with HF mobile setups they'd like to talk about? Go ahead and call now.
KM6, DAY.
Last station, you were broken, and I didn't catch your complete call sign. Try it again.
Kilo Mike 6, Victor Alpha Yankee. I might be too far away, guys.
I got Kilo Mike 6, Victor Alpha Yankee, I believe, and yeah, you're just barely holding the repeater.
4 years with a diamond, screwdriver antenna, and all that.
I got screwdriver antenna, and that was it.
Sorry about that. Palomar Engineer has a kit for the 7300. Make sure you got all that stuff in. The diamonds work just fine for 4 years. And the nice thing about a screwdriver is that you can tune in your off-station stations. For example, your shortwave, your AM in the middle of the night, and I can tune anything in. I don't have to leave my chair. Got to go screwdriver for mobile.
I do like the ATAS for use with the Yaesus. It's just a touch of a button. The only downside is it just takes a while to get there. I mean, it's not instant tuning. I love the AH4 for a mobile tuner, especially with Radio Dan's interface, because it truly is a touch of the button, and it's 1 second. It doesn't matter if I'm going from 40 meters up to 6 meters. It's about 1 second, and I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, I agree. I've heard great things about those. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents that screwdrivers are worth their weight in gold, tuning in any station at all. That's what I like about it. KM6BAY, back to net.
I appreciate your input for sure. Any other stations want to talk about HF Mobile? Call now.
K0AEM, just checking in. Kilo Zero Alpha Echo Mike.
K0AEM, we got you down. Thank you. Was there another station trying to call?
MIC again.
MIC, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I forgot to mention, on top of the aforementioned triple mag mount from MFJ, I also run a Wolf River coil, the short coil, not the Shorty 40, but the regular short coil. And on that, I have a standard Citizens band whip. And on the coil itself, I have 2 collars. It's a kit sold from Wolf River Coils. One clip is tuned for 40 meters and the other for 20. To switch between the bands, I have to move a jumper, which is a banana plug. So it's not as convenient as an ATAS or a tuner or whatever, but it is. It covers all across the 20-meter band and all across the 40-meter band. So once you go through the pain of setting it up, because as you tune 20 and 40 with 2 clips on the coil, they do interact during the tuning process. But you get full coverage of both bands. You don't need a tuner.
And that is something I want to try just for giggles. I have my own version of the Wolf River coil, I guess you could call it, that I make. I've got 3 versions. One's for 40 meters and up, one's for 60 and up, one's for 80 and up. And I might try that on there too. I just use a short jumper with a small alligator clip on it, and I have each band marked with a little dab of nail polish. So if I want 20, I clip it. It's the highest. If I want to go 17, I just bypass it with an 8.5-foot whip. I usually run a 9.5-foot whip when I'm set up portable with a 4-foot mast underneath it. But yeah, I do want to try my coil on there as well. And I was looking for convenience, and I found a good deal on the ATAS. That's why I picked it up. And then with all the INVA stuff that we're doing, I really wanted to try mobile. And I've come to the conclusion that 80-meter NVIS mobile is really just not going to happen. I think the physical limitations of the antenna are such that it's just not doable. It's okay when it's in the vertical to reach a little further out, but I've had 0 success with the antenna anywhere from about 45 degrees to horizontal. 40 meters has been really good. I made a contact with a buddy of mine that lives in Alamogordo, New Mexico yesterday on 40 meters with the ATAS and the 102-inch whip, and we were about 5'7" to each other. He was set up portable doing POTA with a 17-foot whip and the Sporty 40 coil on it, so that setup works really slick too. This is W0BNC Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Weekly TechNet. Do we have any other comments or topics anyone would like to discuss, or any other check-ins?
The BNK. New topic.
Okay, BNK, I got you. Hold on 1 sec, Rick. Whoever it was that all I caught was new topic, can I get your call sign?
Echo Bravo 0.
I caught Kilo Bravo 0. Repeat your suffix, please.
Yankee Delta November. Yankee Delta November. Y-E-N. How copy?
Very, very broken, Eric. You're barely into the repeater. I got headset on, and it's really hard to copy. I'm going to have you stand by one. Rick and 0BNK, go ahead with your question.
Well, it's more of a comment. Talking about the Wolf River coils. I have 2. I have the Silver Bullet, and then that little
Maybe it's the 4040. I'm not sure. I've had it for a while. But it's set for 20 meters. The other is got it marked for 40 and 80. And I have a headache rack with little ears that come off. I want to put one on one side and one on the other with an antenna switch inside. So I can just flip back and forth while I'm cruising around or parked somewhere. So that's a future plan, N0BNK.
Yeah, and if you got a pair of them and they're different, and yeah, you can have two bands with the flip of a switch. I don't see why that wouldn't work at all.
I also have the claw from Chameleon antennas that I can clamp the thing on the top of the headache rack and tilt it over and hopefully do some invis with it. So I still need to play with that more.
Sorry, Rick, I stepped on you there at the beginning, but I did copy or wanting to try tilting the whip over and try a little invis. Is that right?
I have the, it's called the claw. It's a little clamp with jaws on it from Chameleon antennas, I believe. I can clamp that on the top of the headache rack or in the middle or whatever, tilt it over, and hopefully it will do invis. We tried a little bit during the one test when everybody was down at the center down there in Loveland, but nobody could hear me. I think it was because of all the noise that was going on there. So anyway, N0BNK.
Well, when the day comes you've set it all up and tried it, be sure to let us know either on a TechNet or join in on our AriesNet and let everybody know how it did. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. Eric, KB0YDN. Let's give it a shot.
Hopefully this works. I don't understand what's going wrong. I certainly hear horse tooth just fine, full quieting, no noise. And about half of the people who go through horse tooth, through the voting receivers, some come through well, some Loveland ones do not come through too well. But I'm going to be at that Wednesday lunch, and I'm wondering if anybody who knows the internals of the voting receivers could be there as well. I am putting 50 watts into the next 50, and I had a different antenna on there before, and both antennas have the same results. Highly variable results with the receiver.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm getting the repeater full strength, but it just sounds like you don't have a good signal into the repeater. Greg, N0EMP, any insight to that maybe?
Hey, as far as voting receivers go, a voting receiver listens and it reports to the main repeater in real time, packet by packet, how good a signal strength it's getting. For this repeater, the 275 at Horsetooth, I think our only voting receiver might be at Buckhorn. And I think that YDN would have an even worse path to Buckhorn than he would to Horsetooth. So voting receivers are different than linked repeaters. And I'm wondering if, first of all, what the status is of our Lee Hill link to this repeater. And I'm wondering if YDN has ever tried getting into Lee Hill, which would then link, not vote, but link to this repeater if that link is up. And I'll be at the lunch, and I'm somewhat familiar with our voting receivers. N0EMP.
YDN?
YDN, go ahead.
Okay, I thought the 7.275 had 4 voting receivers on it. That was my understanding. I guess I thought differently. Tell me again the Lee Hill repeater, and I will try and ping it. The last time I did, I was weak but readable. And yes, I am listening to the output of the repeater, and my signal is being received very poorly by it.
E.T.
E.T., go ahead, Jim. Thanks for jumping in.
This is K6ET. I just jumped in. His signal going into Horsetooth is very weak. He's got about a quarter strength compared to everyone else up here. I mean, obviously, me and Greg and even you, Bob, are pegging it full strength into the repeater. He's down like 25% of what our signal is for his transmit into the repeater. If he wants to try Lee Hill, that link is up and operational. 447.750 negative offset with a 141.3 tone, I believe it is. Let me double check on the tone.
Correct on the tone, KD0EXV.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead. You got that tone?
I confirmed it is 141.3.
No, it's set up wrong. So I'll try later. Anyway, I'm going to drop off since I'm so unreadable on this. Yeah, I don't know what's going on because I certainly feel Horsetooth runs less power than I do. Obviously a better antenna, but still, and it's full signal strength, full quieting here.
BNK.
BNK, go ahead, Rick.
Just a suggestion. You said heard you mention trying different antennas. Have you tried a different radio?
I have not tried a different radio.
Even an HT, hook it up and see. It might be something with your radio that's going kerflooey. And 0BNK.
Eric, is your email address on QRZ current?
I'll have to rummage for some cables. KB0YDN back to net.
YDN, is your email address on QRZ current?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I just sent you an email. Just something for you to mess around with. I've found this very helpful for me to diagnose why I can hit certain places and can't. It's a radio path map. It's called the RF line of sight map, and you put one dot on your antenna and another dot on the other antenna, and it gives you a graphical map of what elevations and valleys, the highs and lows in between the 2 points. That may help, figure out if you've got a high point in your way that you didn't realize before. So just something to play around with, take a look at.
I have received it. I will go ahead and give it a shot.
Okay, real good. This is W0BNC, Net Control for the NCARC Weekly TechNet. Do we have any additional topics or questions tonight?
KD0EXV with a need for help.
We will see what we can do, Brian. Go ahead, sir.
I've got a ICOM IC9100 KB0VGD, and his son came over and put up a chameleon wire on the roof of my house, and I've got 2 breaker boxes, one in the garage and one in the basement, and every time I transmit, it blows all the GFI breakers, and he came over and put in a Drake low-pass filter, and that didn't help at all.
Those unbalanced antennas are notorious for RFI. On my infed, I have a choke on it. Otherwise, I reset clocks and reset my weather station and all sorts of other things, wireless remote control lights that I have in the house. Do you have any type of RF choke on it at all?
The Drake low-pass filter is all I've got, and the basement breaker box is maybe 20, 25 feet away from the feed line coming down the roof. The other breaker box is on the west side of the house in the garage, and none of those break.
In what way?
Go ahead, Bart.
Brian, one of these days I want to come over and play with that. Did you ever try incremental power reduction and figure out, well, start low and work your way up and see at what power level do you have these, do you trip these breakers on the different bands?
Bart, that was my next effort, but somebody needs to come over because obviously in a wheelchair I can't get down the stairs to the basement breaker box.
All right, let's get together and play. I'm going to suggest, hang on a moment. I'm not looking too good for this week, but early next week we could get together, say maybe Monday, if that works for you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Firm up the time and zero NYY back to net.
Thank you, Bart. Appreciate that very much. Sounded like somebody jumped in with a comment. Go ahead and give your call sign again.
This is AE3TV. Late check-in and a comment on the GFCI breakers tripping.
Got you logged in, Tom. Go ahead.
So this is actually an issue we've had at work with our electric meters as well. The new GFCI breakers that are being put in these panels now are becoming very sensitive to any sort of RFI. And our electric meters, they run at about the 900 megahertz range, but we've turned them all the way down to 100 milliwatts, and we're still tripping breakers every now and then with them. One of the big things I think the electricians have done is they've gone to a different brand, and I couldn't tell you if it was GE, Siemens, Square D. Yeah, I don't know exactly, but yeah, we've had that issue at the little bit higher frequencies as well, though, with our electric meters.
So, Brian, how old are these GFIs? Are they original to the house, or are they recent? About what age are they?
KD0X. They're original from 9 years, and they're an Eaton brand, which I'm not familiar with. I always dealt with Square D, and to top it off, the guy went overboard. There only needs to be 3 GFIs downstairs, and he's got 10, so it blows all 10 of them.
Yep, that was kind of the issue as well. I think in the new NEC code, it's required to have a certain number of them at certain points. I know back in the day, it used to just be the GFCI outlets in a room that would cover, say a whole kitchen or a bathroom. But now they're going to these. I don't think they're actually called GFCI. I think they're RFCI. It's the arc fault circuit interrupters. They're a little bit different, and those are the ones that have been tripping out with pretty much any sort of RFI at all. Even the smallest amount trips them out.
Okay, thanks. The only other idea I had was to try on one circuit, putting in a standard breaker and then putting the actual outlet GFI. Then, of course, once you put it in the first line, then it would react to all the other ones in line.
Right, yep. And I know that's what the NEC code used to be. Again, I don't know what it is anymore. Being that I work for the power company, we don't follow NEC code when it comes to a lot of that because we just don't deal with that. But I'm not sure, if it's still legal to, switch from those breakers and just going back to a regular breaker and putting the GFCI outlets in. Personally, that's what I would do. My house here is exactly set up that way. I don't have any of those those GFCI breakers or their AFCI breakers, and I have no issue running 100 watts with an antenna that comes, well, I have an end fed halfway that comes right by the house, and then I also have the 4-element beam up at about 50 feet by the house, and no issues at all.
Okay, well, thank you all for the help, and Bob, thanks for doing the net. KD0EXV.
You bet, Brian, no problem. Any other questions or comments for the net?
AE0CF.
AE0CF, go ahead, Brad.
I'm just curious if someday, the survey partially joke, but wondering if someday that they would require that power lines be twisted pair just to get rid of any common mode interference on them that would cause nuisance trips. Anyway, AE0CF, backnet.
AE3, excuse me, AE3TB. I'm going to start over. AE3TB, is that something you might know about?
In terms of the twisted pair for power lines, in all of these applications, it's triplex wire, so it is 2 conductors and a neutral twisted together, 2 phases and a neutral. The real issue with it is the meters themselves, just the frequency they run at, the power they run at. That's kind of been the issue. So really, it's not the power company. It comes down more to the manufacturers of these meters. And at this point, there might be regulation coming down that'll clean that up a little bit. I mean, they still have to fall within FCC standards. But outside of that, twisting the wires together really won't make that much of a difference in this respect. They do run a twisted pair, I'm trying to remember the name of it, for higher voltage, like 7,000, 14,000 volt lines. We don't run any of it up in northern Colorado. Nobody does. They run it mostly down Castle Rock area.
Okay, good deal. Thank you both. Thanks, Tom, for that input. Any other questions or comments for the net?
This is KD02IU with a couple of announcements.
Go ahead, Joe. Floor's yours.
Thanks, Bob, for running the net, and by the way, nice net tonight. Hey, got a couple things. Since Brian's here, I want to tell him that we are working on that. We ran our survey to see if the UNC repeater should be linked to something, 275, basically. And we came back with a pretty good bunch of people that kind of thought it'd be a good idea. Talked to James this weekend, and he is having problems writing the program. He's got it written. He said he doesn't understand why it doesn't work, because it's just like any of the other ones. So, folks, we're getting on that thing, and we'll get this thing done. We hope to have it done a couple weeks ago. And we ran the survey, and we knew what everybody wanted, so we went ahead and did that. But it just isn't quite working out. And you know James, let me let this drop. And you know James, it's got to be perfect, and it should be perfect. So he's definitely working on it, so we're going to get that up as soon as possible. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, if we're going to have it up all the time or just certain times. Right now, we haven't decided that, but more information to come on that. One other thing, I'll let this drop. I just posted our HF at the park. It's going to be on June 9th. That's a Friday evening. Starts at 6 o'clock, goes to whatever. And it's going to be the same thing we had last year. Same place, North Loveland Lake Park, Pavilion number 2. For information, get on the website, and we're having you sign up. And the only reason I'm doing that is just so I can get a count. So if we have to put more chairs and stuff like that in there, well, at least we know what's going on. There's no cost for this. We hope to be able to have the new van up there also. James and I were talking about this weekend, so I think we'll be pretty well set up. Bob and Jim and the rest of these guys, we got a note from Mike Ring wanted to do it, and I'm hoping everybody shows up. Greg, I'm hoping you do too. So anyway, back to net. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe, and I'm glad the date got moved on that. I wasn't going to be able to make it for the prior date, so looking forward to that, June 9th. Excellent. Okay, this is W0BNC Net Control for the NCARC Weekly TechNet. Do we have any other questions, comments, or topics of discussion before we close the net tonight?
Late check-in.
Late check-in, go ahead.
November 0 Delta Yankee. November 0 Delta November Yankee. I think I let my finger up. Jim in Fort Collins. Nice net, thanks.
N0 DNY, thanks for checking in and appreciate that. Okay, no other questions or comments. We'll go ahead and close the net for tonight. Net Control would like to thank everyone for their participation. Good time tonight. Appreciate everybody. We had a total of 26 check-ins. This net will occur again next Monday at the same time on this repeater. This is W0BNC closing the net at 7:04 p.m., 7-3, and good night, everyone. Thanks again.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.